You and us, have to sometimes look at the larger picture. Sometimes raise our head above the parapet of politics. Viewers, sometimes we have to look outside of the cauldron of intrigue. Now let me tell you, viewers, if you have nothing to fear, if you have nothing to hide, nothing to be defensive about, you will have nothing to lose. Your words, your spoken words will carry weight, will be shaped by conviction, and will be heard without prejudice or doubt. That really, viewers, is the power of truth. This is now true of our Bharat, our India, our motherland. The world is falling over itself to recognize our collective agency, yours, our fellow Indians, our collective genius, and our collective contribution to humanity. India's growing stature, based on undeniable evidence, facts, numbers, data, is ensuring that her story can no longer be ignored, that it can no longer be written over by fake propaganda. However hard the agents of calumny might try. Here, viewers, are a few undeniable facts and figures that have become hard to obscure, that have become hard to gloss over. And let me give you some of these figures right up on top, so I can better situate the context of what we are going to discuss tonight, viewers. The Indian economy is set to grow at 7.5% in FY23. The Prime Minister has said it's the world's fastest growing major economy. Important word, major economy. In fact, it's going to grow faster than the United States, the UK, Europe, all of Europe, all the major powers of Europe. It's going to grow faster than China for the first time, viewers. That's what we are being told. Of course, it's difficult to ascertain because, as you know, viewers, the Chinese are masters at obscuring the truth. But India is a democracy, and nothing can remain hidden. India is set to overtake some of the world's largest economies. It has already overtaken UK as the 5th largest economy. A decade ago, India was at 11th position. The IMF has projected it to become the 4th largest in just a few years. By 2027, in 5 years, India may even become a 5 trillion economy by just 2026. The target earlier was 2025, but no one foresaw the black swan event, COVID-19, the pandemic. The GDP, viewers, has grown from 7.4% in 2014-15 to 8.9% in 2021-22. Growth despite impact of 2-year-long pandemic. Keep that in the back of your minds. No other country has emerged as unscathed as India has from the pandemic. Of course, I'm not denying, viewers, that there are headwinds, but we have, for the first time, the capacity, the wherewithal, the agency to take on those headwinds. Foreign direct investment from US $24.7 billion in 2014-15 to $58.8 billion in 2021-2022. Viewers, some of the world's biggest companies are relocating to our country to propel us, you, myself, all of us, all Times Now's viewers, to greater glory. What's more, viewers, the facts are being recognized and being voiced by not just government's managers, viewers, not journalists, but by international governments. Listen to this.
India has to take care of 1.3 billion people. In a democracy with smooth transitions, can you imagine having to take care of 1.3 billion people and still having the time at the policy level to say, let us look to see what we can do for the rest of the world, when multilateral institutions should be doing that? So I will dare say that India is a multilateral institution in its own right.
India embraced a holistic and outward-looking vaccine diplomacy strategy. As a result, Jamaica was able to secure its first life-saving vaccines from India. We are deeply grateful and remain so to the government and people of India.
I'm convinced that the LIFE initiative proposed by Prime Minister Modi could be a game changer.
Maldives applauds the strides that India continues to make in the multilateral sphere and will continue to work alongside our neighbor, our close partner, and our best friend.
Is this opportunity to thank India, which has guaranteed Yemen an exception from the new grain exporting measures, which shows a great example of Indian constructive role in restoring food availability.
Viewers, these are testimonies of international countries. You can't buy this kind of publicity, this kind of positive publicity. Let me tell you that, viewers. Chances are that you're unaware of these undeniable facts because perhaps you don't have the wherewithal to rise above the dark clouds of disinformation spread by an ecosystem that are obscuring the view of how India is being viewed today globally. The best part is that the Indian government now knows this and has the confidence to call out the mischief makers, ensuring a fairer representation of India and Indians across the globe. If we had something to hide, viewers, would we have called out those that we believe are spreading fake news? Because the onus would have been upon us to prove that those fake propagandists are wrong. You would have had to come up with facts. The point is, viewers, we have the facts. We can now call out all these peddlers of a fake narrative, viewers. All of them. And that's just what Dr. Jaishankar has done in America over the last 24 hours.
There are some newspapers, you know exactly what they're going to write, including one in this town. You know, there are these biases, there are these efforts really to determine, you know, how, I put it, look, the more India goes its way, and the people who believed that they were the custodians and the shapers of India lose ground in India, the more actually some of this debate is going to come outside, because they're not winning in India. So they will try and win outside India, or try and shape India from outside.
What's more, Jaishankar's assertiveness, his clear-eyed denunciation are a refreshing break from the past, and one indication of this is that his remarks come within days of the New York Times attacking India once again, predictably, on inclusivity and human rights. Not just the press, the opinion makers, but India is no longer ready to be pushed around or cuckolded on the global stage either, the global diplomatic stage, viewers. Not by its adversaries or even its friends. Sample how India ticked off the United States for trying to pull the diplomatic wool over India's eyes. Listen to this.
It's a relationship that has neither ended up serving Pakistan well, nor serving American interests well. So it is, because at the end of the day, you know, for someone to say, I'm doing this because it is for counter-terrorism, when you are talking of an aircraft like the capability of the F-16, I mean, everybody knows, you know, where they are deployed and what is the use and what is their capability. So, you know, you're not fooling anybody by saying these things.
Increasingly, viewers, India is taking independent positions in its own interest, confident that it can stand its own ground in the face of arm twisting by the international powers. And it can do so because it knows its story is not a fake one. Only paper tigers, viewers, fall flat. Individuals made of straw collapse. But a country whose story is built on solid foundations can stand up and exchange and trade punches. At the UNGA 2022, this new India is a confident and resurgent society. That's what we said. At the Globe SEC 2022, we ensured, viewers, that no one can make us take positions that will suit them. And that was a message that was delivered. Europe has to grow out of its mindset that its problems are the world's problems. Have a difficult relationship with China, perfectly capable of managing. A lot of our problems with China have nothing to do with Ukraine or Russia. That's what we said. We stood up to global pressure, especially Western pressure, that said, you have to side with us. If you're not with us, you're against us. Well, India said, too bad. We're not sitting on the fence just because I don't agree with you. It means I'm sitting on my own ground, and I will do so in my national interest, just like all these Western powers continually do. Did the United States, viewers, does it come to our rescue when China goes and tries to go ahead and transgress the LAC? No, viewers, it doesn't. It gives us advice. Similarly, viewers, when we get into fracas, do the Russians take a public stand against the Chinese? No, we take the public stand. We do it because we are capable today of doing so. And therefore, viewers, let's ask some basic questions, because there are still people who in this country are sitting and doubting the capacities of this nation. I can read today several tweets. There is a couple of tweets, viewers, that seem to suggest that Jaishankar's attack on American media is wrong. That it is born out of a peak that it cannot buy out, that the government cannot buy out the Western press like it somehow manages to do in this country. Viewers, it's laughable, isn't it? It's laughable. But nonetheless, let's open this up. Let's ask some questions. India has become more assertive, and I want to hear your views too, viewers, tonight. I want you to tell me if you think India's assertiveness is born now out of a new confidence based on material facts, or is it just bluster, or is it another exercise, viewers, at packaging, event managing, etc.? Let's ask some basic questions. India has become more assertive about its place in the world. The government insists that this has become possible because India's story is strong. Now, Suhag Shukla, let me begin by asking you this question. Are you in agreement in principle with this statement, or do you think that India is punching well above its weight without even having legs to stand on?
No, I think that what Dr. Jaishankar said really resonated. The narrative on India has been typeset. So facts are either plugged in for print or omitted if they don't fit. India's incredible progress and robust democracy becomes an inconvenient truth. Thoughtful critique on policies that aren't working simply aren't found in outlets like the New York Times or Washington Post. And instead, we get ad hominem attacks on political personalities and then guilt by association for those that might support democracy and progress. What's the narrative? The perpetrator, the government of India and Hindus, the victim, religious minorities, women, you name it. And this typesetting then bleeds into nearly every story, not just about India, but also on the diaspora. And we saw that in Leicester firsthand.
Let me open this further and let me get in Sanjay Jha, for instance. Sanjay Jha, this is a question not posed by me, but posed by India at a global forum recently. And this is what was said. If you look at Article 370 issue, that was a temporary provision of the Constitution that was finally put to rest. This was supposed to be an act of majoritarianism. That's how it was painted in the international press or by certain governments that also see us as their principal adversary. And there were a lot of people who fell for that. Here, maybe even you, maybe even the party you speak for. This is what India has said. Tell me what was happening in Kashmir was not majoritarian, question mark. I think the way facts are slanted, things are laid out. What is wrong, what is right is confusing. This is actually politics at work. So Sanjay Jha, this is a fundamental question. A large number of your fellow co-travelers in the Congress party said this was an act of majoritarianism. Some even said that this was misconceived. Misconceived. Because a Hindu narrative India was being born before our eyes. But Sanjay Jha, your political party, your tallest leaders have never come out and said what we have seen in Kashmir, the targeting killings, is an act of majoritarianism. That's what the government is saying today on an international stage.
Well, Rahul, let me respond by first commenting on one of the pictures on your show right now, which talks about the US funding Pakistan with military arms. That by itself is a brazen expression of the failure of Mr. Modi's foreign policy. Here is a prime minister who went and campaigned saying, "Ab ki baar Trump sarkar," and poor Mr. Jaishankar had to, in very squeamish, awkward, almost in acute discomfiture, justify that. I mean, and look at it. It is an admission of a foreign policy failure today that America, to whom Mr. Modi's government has, to use a term, literally been on its knees to kind of placate them to give us foreign direct investment, is actually playing footsie with Pakistan. It is, by the way, Mr. Jaishankar, instead of making these comical and churlish comments before the media on the freedom of press in India, should worry about the fact that India today is being talked about in a manner that should concern all of us on the show. Where are we? We are being called an illiberal democracy.
By whom? By whom? By whom? Specify, because it's very important that you specify. By whom?
Yeah. So let me answer.
By whom? The New York Times, the Washington Post? Who?
Well, can I answer?
Tell me.
It is much better. By the way, it's much better than some TV channels and media papers in India, right? So let me just answer you in brief.
No, one second. What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do I mean?
You believe that the Indian media is so decrepit that it can't compete internationally? You have such a dim view of your own country that you believe in various sectors it can't compete internationally? What are you saying? I'm not understanding. Who are you? Who are these people?
Rahul Shivshankar,
who are these people?
I'll answer you.
Because you're not answering me. Who are these people? You're making this personal, you're turning it around. I'm just asking you a simple question. Who are you talking about who comes out and says the things that you're saying?
Okay.
Who are these institutions?
So why don't you listen to me, Rahul?
Yeah, sure.
I'll answer you, and then we can have a very constructive, meaningful, animated debate.
Yeah, of course.
I respect all the panelists. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Your question cannot be longer than my answer, for heaven's sake. Number one.
Why can't it be? Sanjay Jha, why can't it be?
आप इतना interrupt क्यों करते हैं भैया?
I'm only asking you. Don't pass judgment. I've never sat here and said that you have taken up 5 minutes of our time. You haven't. See, so just stick to the facts. Let's get to the facts. Let's discuss the facts. Let's be mature about it. Let's rise above our little peaks and let's get to the facts. Now tell me, who are these people who say India is not an inclusive democracy?
Yeah, okay. You know what? Why don't you do me a favor while I talk, get one of your team to please put on your show, because I can do it in 1 second. India is called an illiberal democracy, an elected autocracy by some of the most respected agencies that evaluate democratic freedom in the world. Do you want to know how many journalists are murdered in India? How many journalists murdered in India don't even get the advantage of the perpetrators being prosecuted? We are the worst in the world. And as a member of the fraternity, Rahul, what the one who so many times on the show tells me, never shoot the messenger. And you're okay with
Sanjay Jha, when Sanjay Jha, I asked you specifically to name these agencies. Name them.
Yeah, here you are.
Who?
Have you heard of Freedom House?
Do you know about Freedom House?
Oh,
can you put your hand on your heart and say that Freedom House is not an agency, whose own methodology has been questioned around the world, including by the US? Can you not say that?
How many people died for RTI?
Sanjay Jha, so listen to me.
To answer my question,
I thought you would come up with, I thought you would,
one second. You have the data.
Sanjay Jha, please. I thought, listen to me, please. Let's stop falling back on agencies that have been called out, not just by India, by some of the world's leading democracies.
Really?
About being, of course, it's a fact. I can give you all.
My dear friend, the Supreme. Have you heard the Supreme Court on Pegasus?
Excuse me, sir.
Have you heard the Supreme Court on Pegasus?
The Supreme Court.
Are you going to deny the Supreme Court of India?
Sanjay Jha, no one is saying. No one is saying that India is a perfect democracy.
Good, your first admission.
I never said that. I'm only saying that India is on the rise. That it's
always was on the rise.
One second. At least we didn't have a Supreme Court, sir, that ratified the emergency. Excuse me. At least we didn't have a Supreme Court that ratified the emergency. Don't talk about, tolerance.
Excuse me.
Please,
we have an undeclared emergency in India.
Let me. I don't want to take.
Listen, I don't want to get into for 96 months.
Sanjay Ji, I don't want to get into a war of words with you. You have an agenda. You're welcome to it. Look, how
I have a view.
Excuse me.
I have a view. You have an agenda. I have a view.
I'm not holding you in any way responsible. I began this show by saying that a large number of us do not have the agency today, as brainwashed as we are, by the negativity that is flowing out of different components. So,
not at all.
And one second.
Not at all.
You must say.
Not at all. Haven't we had the longest internet shutdown in Kashmir?
Sanjay
Is it a fact or not?
Sanjay Ji.
Is it a fact or not?
Sanjay Ji.
Haven't we seen human rights
let me answer that question for you.
Under trials in prison.
Not in my own words.
What about your own journalists who are murdered?
Let me finish. Let me answer this on the internet. Not in my words, but in Jaishankar's words. You can debate his words. There is a big song and dance. Let me finish. Look, someone else has a point of view. I'm only sharing that point of view with the larger audience. You can shoot it down. See, we are a great democracy. We have Sanjay Jha's, we have the Tehseens who sit here and abuse even the Home Minister. Not a problem.
No, we don't abuse.
Of course, you said all sorts of things. You said about. Of course, you said the other day, spineless.
I think
someone.
I think he has a spine of a molten eclair.
Anyhow, one second.
He has a spine of a molten eclair. That's not abuse.
You said things in the past, but it's okay. It's fine.
Rahul,
you can be as below the belt. It's okay. We're a democracy.
The Prime Minister not being below the belt?
Listen, I didn't speak to you.
Yes, sir, but
Tehseen, please, I didn't speak to you. You can come in.
Shamshan Kabristan. Just to remind you of the Prime Minister's language.
I'm only saying, viewers, excuse me.
Go back to your original question.
One second. No. They don't want to go back to the original question because there are no facts. So let me just come back here. Viewers, 1 minute. Just give me 30 seconds. Please, let's not speak over each other. We get very exercised. But I'll tell you one thing, viewers. You've just had two people on this show punch massive holes, say a lot of things about your country. And the great thing is, viewers, that they can.
About the government.
That they can.
Rahul. This is very dangerous.
Okay, about the government. About the government.
There are day and day.
Okay, about the government. Fine.
Sanjay Jha. We are not against the country.
Yeah, okay, please.
Rahul, you take that
we are
back.
against the government.
Okay, fine, against the government. Against the government, against what the government does.
And the government is not the country.
Okay.
And the government is not the country. They will lose 24. Everyone becomes history, bhaiya. सब हारते हैं चिंता नहीं करने का सब हारते हैं
We criticize the government, not the country.
We
will die for this country. Nobody from the BJP sacrificed their life for this country.
Give me 30 seconds. Let me give me 30 seconds.
और मोदी जी भी हारेंगे.
Viewers, you can attack the Prime Minister today, you can attack the Home Minister, you can attack the ruling party, you can attack the country's diplomacy. You can go ahead and attack any institution of this nation. And this is being proven. And yet these people are saying the media is sold out. It censors voices.
Rahul, it's a little demeaning to say these
sitting
people,
on national TV.
Rahul, we come on your show. Don't call us these people.
Smita Prakash, let me bring in Smita Prakash. Listen.
No, why you?
What is your problem tonight?
Bracketing people.
Sanjay Jha, what is your problem tonight? I asked you 3 questions. I said, who are these agencies?
I'm questioning the
you don't have your facts.
What do you mean by these people?
Which people?
Oh, what do you mean by these people?
There's a whole ecosystem. There's a whole ecosystem.
A part of opposition.
There's a whole ecosystem.
One second.
Listen, 1 second. I'm not honor bound here. 1 second. Mr. Jha, please.
Oh, real.
Why are you getting so quarrelsome?
I mean, I completely disagree with the kind of choice of words you made. I mean, how can you say these people? What makes Lokesh, Tehseen and me these people?
Okay. What does it make you? What does it make you?
We are equal.
Now let me tell you, viewers, let me give you a few facts. In 2012, viewers, even a UPA Prime Minister spoke about international propaganda against India. UPA, Congress. And you know what the context was? Kundan Kulam protests in 2012. The Congress jailed thousands who protested. And it said, the atomic energy program has run into difficulties because these NGOs, mostly I think based in the United States, don't appreciate the need for our country to increase energy supply. There are NGOs often funded from the United States and Scandinavian countries which are not fully appreciative of the development challenges that our country faces. This is a UPA Prime Minister whose birthday we are celebrating today. So when they tell you that the government is whinging, viewers, they forget what their own great and glorious have said in the past about international criticism. I want to bring in Smita Prakash. I want to bring in General. I want to bring in Tehseen in that order. Smita Prakash, you heard some of the extremely freewheeling, and I'm glad that they were, untrammeled critiques of why India should not be considered a country worth its weight in gold. What do you make of it?
I think, Rahul, what Dr. Jaishankar said in Washington, D.C., I'd like to bring the debate back onto that. The crux in what the External Affairs Minister said is based on this implicit faith, this belief that the BJP has, and that can be contradicted by other political parties. We are a democracy. Everybody has a right to express their views and not be in sync with what the External Affairs Minister said. Though by and large, as far as foreign policy is concerned, we have kind of agreed as a nation, especially when our Prime Minister or Foreign Minister is on foreign soil. Now, this government believes that India of today is a confident India which sets its goals and paths to achieve those goals and will not be dictated by people who are inimical to its growth trajectory. And the more India gets out of its diffident nature, the more uncomfortable it makes people who Jaishankar called custodians and shapers of India. Now, is this something new? No, it's happened before. You mentioned Dr. Manmohan Singh. I can even bring in Rajiv Gandhi. I can bring in Indira Gandhi. Every time Indian Prime Ministers have faced these kind of obstacles when they take bold decisions. Now, when Jaishankar points to that entitled lot, he specifically mentioned in DC about a DC-based paper. I think he was referring to the Washington Post. Some of the op-eds and some of the so-called reporting which is done by those two newspapers that he didn't take by name but he alluded to, they kind of parade a narrative that India is on the brink of a doomsday. You know, those Cassandras who say, and I just heard this, that democracy is in peril, sab kuch khatam hone wala hai. I mean, Jaishankar, as you mentioned, he gave that example of Article 378 when I think Mr. Jha was talking about it, that, the internet being taken off was the biggest thing, and not the newspapers also report. The lack or the absence of the loss of life was not of consequence, but the internet being taken off in Kashmir was what it was. So he called a spade, and he said that the reporting, whether right or wrong, is not the issue, it is politics. And then he said very specifically, Rahul, that that this partisan manner of reporting, this white man's burden which you don't expect from Americans, land of the free and all that. But this partisan manner of reporting is not right. You don't expect them to go rah 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 about everything about India, but its obvious dislike of Mr. Modi gets translated to obvious dislike of all things Indian.
Okay, well, that's an interesting perspective, viewers. Of course, there are several institutions that are today championing India. And these are multilateral institutions, not some fly-by-night advocacy groups. Let me tell you, viewers, I'll take you through a list. But before that, I just want to open this up to some of our viewers who are calling in. Thank you very much. I would like you to speak tonight. Venkatesh calling in from Bengaluru. Swaminathan also calling from Bengaluru. Venkatesh, over to you, sir. Good evening. What do you make of what is being said now about India and its new assertiveness?
Good evening, Rahul, and my Shashtang Namaskaram to General Bakshi. I think we can forget what the Congress says, because their only intention is to oppose Modi at all costs, even if it means opposing the nation, and they're clutching at straws. Rather than showing something that we can aspire to, they simply oppose Modi, who's been a steady winner. So let's not talk about them, number one. Number two is, there is a talk of ecosystem, but which government, especially a majority one, does not have a large ecosystem to counter it? The government needs to get its act together. The miscommunication they did for Agniveer, the miscommunication they did before the farm laws, these are all, things that are taken advantage of by the so-called other ecosystem. The government also needs to get their act together. And one last thing about the Congress, it is really admirable that even suspended Congress persons are die-hard loyalists. One only wishes that they would be as much loyal to the country as they are to the party that they have been suspended from. Thank you.
You can object to the viewers,
you cannot call Sanjay no, you cannot.
Mr. Swaminathan calling from Bengaluru. Mr. Swaminathan calling from Bengaluru. That's a public opinion.
No, that's not right, Rahul. It's being framed. His life will be in danger.
Don't listen. The amount of nonsense that is said about me on a daily basis, where I'm made out to be some sort of hate monger, etc. My life is not in danger. I don't hear you speaking about it. Don't talk rubbish. Swaminathan calling in from Bengaluru. Mr. Swaminathan, go ahead. You've never tweeted ever in your life. Please. I am not going to stand up. I am not going to stand up. Excuse me. I am not going to stand up. 1 second.
I want to tell Mr. Venkatesh, I respect you, but Mr. Sanjay may have a different point of view from Mr. Modi. That is right. You cannot call him unpatriotic or against the country.
Has a voice.
You may have a voice. That voice cannot come Sanjay.
Has he committed an illegality? Has he committed an illegality? Yes or no?
You're calling something anti-national.
Has he committed an illegality?
Right. It's not morally justified.
Mr. Sanjay Jha can take it up with Mr.
And
Venkatesh.
I will stand for Sanjay Jha.
He can take it up with Mr. Venkatesh. I can't today. No, 1 second. I can't today. Please, I can't today filter people's voices.
You shouldn't. But
that's it.
I'm not people anti-national on TV.
1 second, that's the view of a public person.
And it's a wrong view,
You want to take it up? Please, Mr. Jha, I'll give you his number. You can take it up. Mr. Swaminathan calling in from Bengaluru.
These calls are fixed.
These calls are fixed.
Yeah.
These calls are fixed, says Sanjay Jha.
Good evening, Mr. Rahul.
1 second. Mr. Swaminathan, I am now being told by Mr. Jha that these calls are fixed, that you are a fixed viewer who has been told to say something. Can you believe
this?
These
calls are they are picked up. Many days I don't get through also.
Go ahead.
See, I totally...
Go ahead. Mr. Swaminathan, go ahead.
Mr. Jha talking like this thinks that he may be made the Congress president. He will not be. So that is the thing. See, I totally support Jaishankar's view. See, these international news media, when they report news, they are supposed to report news and not express views as news. See, politicians in India want a weak government so that they can have personal gains. PM and the present ministers are not for sale, and that really sends shivers along the MNCs and many of the government who are not able to buy out these. But earlier, government wanted the media to be pleased. This is now not being done. All what is being done is for the interest of India, and they are not bothered about the media. And most of these reporters who are in these international media, Washington Post, New York Times and many others are people who have failed in India and they have lost their credibility and they are the ones who report biased views about India to tarnish the image. Thank you.
Okay, 1 second. UNICEF on India's milestone of 2 billion vaccine doses administered. Completing 2 billion doses of vaccines in 18 months in a country as vast and diverse as India is a phenomenal accomplishment and a testament to the grit and dedication of India's health workers who have worked tirelessly to boost vaccination coverage in parts of the country despite the challenges of repeated pandemic waves, inclement weather, difficult terrain and hard-to-reach areas. I will give you more such testimonials, viewers, of India's ability to do what many people, including many, within government and outside, thought was improbable. Within government also, viewers, there were a large number of people making noises that left government or came out in large critiques, but eventually, viewers, even the world has had to sit up and take note. I want to go straight across to General Bakshi. I'll come to you. They've seen you've been speaking so much. General Bakshi has been so disciplined, not even opened his mouth once. General Bakshi, good evening. Sorry I've come to you a little late. Lokesh is also here with us, Mr. Jindal of the Congress. But General Bakshi, what do you make of India's assertiveness? Where is this power coming from?
Rahul, in your preamble to this discussion today, you had pointed out to India's growth story. You know, her rapid growth story, which is making waves around the world, which is being recognized by international financial institutions, Standards and Poor's, a whole lot of the IMF, all of them have recognized that we are going on an upward trajectory. When you go on an upward trajectory, a lot of people who see you as a growing power, as a future challenger, will try and queer your pitch, will try and disrupt your rise. Now, there is a book which is being released, by Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, Snakes in the Ganga, Breaking India 2.0, where after meticulous research, he talks of a project in the United States, funded and, supported by prestigious universities like the Harvard, to badmouth India, to equate caste with color, to, talk of Islamophobia and how India is persecuting its minorities. Every which way they are taking snipes at you to try and run you down, to try and prove that this is some kind of a fascist Haitian clique or something. I mean, by the way they talk. Quite obviously it has to be countered. You can't take it lying down just because the Vokes are now on a rampage and war path, that they are, equating Afro-American with the Dalits. And they have recruited a whole lot of scholars from India to try and peddle this narrative designed to run India down directly. I'm not saying this, I have read that 900-page tome. And I think you are going to have a discussion with Rajiv Malhotra on this. He will tell you what exactly is going on in the United States. There is an ideological assault being mounted against India, which they see as a rising power. They saw China as a rising power. And you see the way the United States is now working to limit the power of China, to contain China, to compete with China, and possibly to stop its rise. Quite obviously, if you are a rising power, you should expect to be opposed. And when you are opposed, you can either take it down meekly, as was being done supinely earlier, or you can hit back. I'm very happy that the foreign minister has hit back. Those F-16s, they are the ones that shot down Abhinandan. They have already done us damage. Don't give us that crap that they are here to counter terrorism.
Okay.
I mean, Pakistan is the greatest ally of China. And here is the United States trying to give us a song and dance about how it will help Pakistan fight terror. Pakistan
and we are calling
is
it out.
exporting terror.
Even though we are part of the Quad, we are calling it out. We are being upfront. Viewers, let me tell you, Bill Gates, he has no reason to pin medals on our chest, on our collective national chest. He comes out and speaks at length about India's contribution during COVID. In an interview to Times Now, in an interview to global media, in an interview, viewers, to other media, you have a large number of other organizations, including, let me tell you, the United Nations itself, praising India on climate action, on several things. Suhag Shukla, would this have been possible? Would these organizations have been putting, and these individuals, global statesmen, been putting their entire credibility on the line to praise a country that actually had nothing to show? And what is there to be gained by them?
Yeah. Obviously not. And I want to circle back to a question that you asked earlier to Sanjayji, and that was the coverage on Kashmir and the abrogation of Article 370. You know, we did an analysis, the Hindu American Foundation, in the month after the abrogation. We reviewed New York Times, CNN, NPR, BBC, and Washington Post. There were 132 articles on the abrogation. Only 25 of the 132 mentioned the role of terrorism or insurgent groups. Only 4 mentioned anything about Kashmiri Pandits. Only 1 mentioned the presence of religious minorities such as Shias and Buddhists in the region, and 0 mentioned the cleansing of Kashmiri Hindus from the region. The reason I point this out is that when we look at agencies like Amnesty International or the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, they rely on the media to come down with their pronouncements. So this idea that the human rights apparatus is somehow telling a truth that agencies like the UN or UNICEF are not, needs to be explored and dissected, because if it relies on media reports, and the media, many of the media who are actually Indian nationals who are scoring a self-goal, quite frankly, and Dr. Jaishankar mentioned this, we can't just take things without analyzing these backgrounds and the bias that's strewn through it.
Okay, now, viewers, let me once again come out to you. Parmeshwaram, Mr. Parmeshwaram calling in from Bengaluru. Please go ahead. Beju Mehta from Mumbai right after, and Girish calling in from Pune. Mr. Parmeshwaram.
Yeah, good evening, Rahul. I am Parmeshwaram calling from Bangalore.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, I'm calling from Bangalore. Every day I'm seeing this Congress people coming and giving hate speech against Modi. I really do not understand when somebody goes to foreign soil and appreciating about the thing, these people come and every day they'll be ignoring the Indian thing. I'm so surprised about this 130-year-old party representatives. These people who not even born before independence.
Well, Mr. Parmeshwaram, they are saying that you are fixed callers. These are times now, viewers. We've opened the call-in lines. You're calling in. People are taking down your number and calling you back. We don't even ask you what you have to say. This is a sad truth. People want to character assassinate just about anyone they don't agree with today. And that's really sad. You've got to be open. Facts. Let's bring out facts against facts. Mr. Jaishankar has said that fine, you write your biased stuff against us, no problems. We will just get better at giving out India's story. And that's a fair point. I think Mr. Venkatesh came out and said that, look, at the end of the day, the government has to really be up and sharp on its communications game. I think that's a very valid point by a very intelligent viewer who's made that point, and I think it's only in the interest of things. You can't just repudiate and rubbish and go out there and say all sorts of things without actually giving your own substantiated point of view. That is important. I want to bring in Mr. Jindal. I also want you to know, viewers, what the president of the UNGA said about India's role globally. The president of the United Nations General Assembly, Abdullah Shahid, on Monday praised India for its contribution to the global body. He described India as a source of pride. not only for South Asia, but for all peace-loving democracies by acknowledging the crucial role played by India at the United Nations. Viewers, this contribution has been made by just about every government to put India out there. And when you have people who try and discredit this by insinuating, they are actually going against a huge arc from the time of our independence. Because some prime ministers might have got it wrong, but no one, out of any deliberate capacity, tried to undermine India's role. You can make policy blunders, you can get it wrong sometimes, it's okay, these things happen. But to vent your spleen and personalize an attack, I think this is the first time it's happening over the last few years. Give me 30 seconds. I want to go across to Baiju Mehta, who's calling in from Mumbai. Mr. Mehta, go ahead.
Hi, Rahul. It's been a very interesting show. Good evening to you, Rahul, and good evening to all the panelists out over there.
Good evening,
It's been a great show that you've been putting up. And to the author, Sanjay Jha, Mr. Jha, I have been trying to call this number for past 15-20 minutes, and now I got the line. So this is not any prepaid or no numbered calls that there are times now is doing it for you. Secondly, there is this term which has been used for people who praise Modi. It's called अंधभक्त. हम लोग सब अंधभक्त है. तो मेरे हिसाब से अंधभक्त आप लोग हैं जो कांग्रेस वाले हैं जो देख नहीं पा रहे किसी चीज को. You may have a difference of opinion, right? You may be ideologically different from what the present dispensation is. But that does not mean that you take that prejudice and try to malign a country that you have been born in and from which you have taken so many things. Please don't try to malign my country.
Mr. Jha, since you've been mentioned by name, please respond. Please respond. Why do you think Baiju Mehta is not right? Please respond to him. Sir, the platform is yours.
No. I'm just going to take 1 minute to say that unfortunately, when you started this program, Rahul, you indulged in a 10-minute monologue that basically set the entire texture of the program. You see, if the anchor determines the outcome of the program, and you decided at the very beginning to actually do this great commercial for Mr. Modi's government, and I'm not surprised at all that Mr. Baiju Mehta comes in here and calls anybody who's critical of Mr. Modi as not celebrating India. Mr. Mehta, for God's sake, let me just tell you one thing. Criticizing your government for its incompetence, for its corruption, for its authoritarian demagoguery, for its sectarian divides, for increasing communal temperature, for destroying jobs, for increasing prices,
Rahul,
for making lies to the country is a monumental shame. And anybody who does that, has a democratic fundamental right to say so.
Please listen to me. Try to have an ability, try to convince and ability to listen. Listening की ability से बनाओ आपके अंदर. We are having 100 unicorns. We are having 100 unicorns. So don't come and say that there is unemployment in the country. If everybody is trying to look for a government job, there will be an unemployment. We are having 100 unicorns right now in the country. And that has only happened because of Atmanirbhar Bharat. It has only happened because of the current policies of the government. Yes, you can criticize the government and criticize it rightly. Criticism is always welcome. But don't try to malign the country. Don't try to malign the country.
Well, viewers, look, at the end of the day, 1 second, Sanjay Jha, look, again, you took a slight jibe at me, so I need to come in. Viewers, I never mentioned Modi government. I only mentioned viewers. Excuse me.
Rahul, you didn't have to.
Sanjay Jha,
listen, you are a seasoned political guy, and even we know communications, my friend.
Please, Sanjay, I'm only stating facts. You can tear these facts up. I don't care. Look, you want to disagree with them, go argue with the IMF.
You have your facts, I have mine.
Now look, let me finish. Viewers, the Indian economy grew at 7.5% in FY23.
At what base? From what base?
Let me finish.
From what base? Why don't you tell the viewers the base?
Sanjay Jha, let me finish. Please. I beg you, sir. It's not palatable to you, fine. But speak when you are asked to speak. I mean, we can't
My dear friend, Nirmala Sitharaman will be very unimpressed by your half-baked facts.
Okay. India overtakes UK as the 5th largest economy. Now they'll say, what base? India might become a $5 trillion economy by 2026. That's the IMF speaking, not Rahul Shivshankar, not even this government. They'll say from what base? GDP grew from 7.4% in 2014-15 to 8.9% 2021-22. They will have a quibble with that fact.
You grew at 4% in the last 5 years. You grew at 4% in the last 5 years.
US
Do you know
billion,
the data?
US, I'm not denying
you
it.
You grew GDP at 4% in the last 5 years.
Am I denying it? But when things are looking
but you're not saying it. तो आप बोलिए ना.
आप बोलिए, आप बोलने के लिए आए हैं. You were the opposition, but you are talking about other immaterial... No, but you are the person who's wasted your entire time talking about all sorts of other rubbish instead of addressing and asking these questions. You've talked about everybody. You've criticized the viewers. You've hit out at the anchors. You've hit out at the channel. You've hit out at the media. You've hit out at everybody. These are the facts that Mr. Jha, these are the facts that you could have put out, but you wasted your time. Now, what can I do about that?
Don't worry, it will be out on Twitter by tomorrow.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Tehseen Poonawalla. Take over Mr. Lokesh Jindal's time also. Go ahead.
Thank you. At the onset, I want to thank General Bakshi for his services. And I want to tell your viewers one thing before I put out facts. Just because some of us criticize the government, we're not anti-national. We want the best for our country. We want the best for our country.
That's a good point.
It is not for the... And we are very proud of Mr. Modi's achievements, like vaccinating 2 billion people. That's a great thing. It's not for the first time it's happened in India. He's done it. Congratulations. But let me put this out.
Who are the we?
The we is the we, the opposition.
The opposition.
We, who are not supporters of
Has the Congress party come out and said that?
The Congress party has congratulated people on a milestone. Rahul Gandhi
Can you show me one? No, 1 second. Let me fact check you. Show me one tweet from Rahul Gandhi. Show me one tweet from Rahul Gandhi congratulating the government of crossing.
He's congratulated the people for the billion vaccine.
The people.
And the health services, everybody. Please may I put out my facts? Please, when we say that this is the strongest India's been, we hope India gets even more stronger. But let's go down history. Churchill said when India got independent, this was a union that would not survive. In 2020, Britain left the European Union. India not just survived, went on to become the 6th, now the 5th largest economy in the world. India survived and thrived. It survived and thrived when the American president told Indira Gandhi with abusive language, words that should not be said on national television, and she looked at him in the eye and she stood him up and she said, I will do what it takes to liberate East Pakistan, and she liberated Bangladesh. 13 days, never in the history of modern or old warfare has that happened. India survived and India thrived. India survived and India thrived when Rajiv Gandhi brought in the computerization, when BJP came on a bullock cart inside parliament saying he will take away jobs, when Manmohan Singh looked at the world in the eye and got us the 1-2-3 agreement despite India not being a signatory to the NSG. And guess who tried to bring Manmohan Singh down? The left loonies, but along with them the BJP that got cash inside parliament to stop India's growth story. India survived and India thrived when Obama said of Manmohan Singh, whose birthday it is today, this man has been a coach for me, a guru for me. He has led the world out of the 2008 crisis. India survived and thrived. India's economy today is contracting. We are worried about it. India today has gone down on the World Freedom Index. We are worried about this. When we are critical of the government's policies, we are not critical of India. We want India to do better than what it did in the past, to do better than what it's doing today. Stop calling us anti-nationals. We stand up for a strong India that did not allow America to give Pakistan the F-16 upgrade. That's happened under Mr. Modi. A Canada that had a Khalistani referendum with a conservative MP who Mr. Modi keeps wooing, supporting the referendum for Khalistan. We support India because India stood up to America and said we will continue to trade with Iran, and Mr. Modi pulled that back. Our trade with Iran came down. India traded with, and now he's learned from his mistake. We support Mr. Modi on the Russia-Ukraine stand. That was Nehru's stand. That was India's stand. India has always been a powerful country. India will be a powerful country. We stand for a strong India. And if Mr. Modi or anyone weakens India, we will criticize him because that's what good people and good citizens do.
Okay, I'm just going to quote Narayan Murthy, who came out and said that when the world was growing, when India should have been growing, we were paralyzed under the UPA.
That's true. The BJP was paralyzing it on the nuclear deal. They went to court on 2G. Who asked them to go to court on 2G? They should be ashamed. They should be embarrassed and apologize to the country. The Supreme Court came down so heavily on this Vinod Rai chap, and the BJP is giving him awards after awards. Vinod Rai paralyzed the Indian economy with help of the BJP.
Okay. Would you like?
And you should be ashamed of it. Ashamed of it. Sorry, Smitaji. I apologize for speaking on your turn. I apologize.
1 second. The number of bad loans, viewers, that went out,
no, that's okay.
which was tallied up. I don't need to give you that figure. I'll just give it to you in about 30 seconds. the NPAs that were sanctioned, viewers, money never retrieved. There were people who were given loans, unsecured loans. Anyhow, that was our money, by the way. Your and my money could have been used productively. You should just ask what the income tax levels were, collections were. You can just start doing the comparatives. Yes, Smita Prakash.
Yeah, Tehseen, my friend, everything that you spoke about, the 123 deal, the nuclear deal, I went there as a beat reporter at that stage. What you term as left loonies criticizing Manmohan Singh or causing trouble, the left loonies, as you call them, were part of the UPA. They were part of his government and they were trying to pull down his government. Please Google and see when Manmohan Singh said, so be it, when he was asked if his government would fall. Just let me complete, Tehseen. When he was told that his government might fall, he faced opposition from within his own party, within his own coalition. I'm making the difference, within his own party and within his own coalition, the left as well as his own party, who did not stand by him. He needed all the support that he could get, and he in fact said, so be it, when he was warned that his government would fall. So you need to read that accidental Prime Minister, and you need to know what happened during the 123 deal. And all credit to him for standing up. You know, he's really underrated as a politician, but he worked at that stage as a politician to get the support. He even asked for support from the opposition. There was Brijesh Mishra, there was whoever he asked for support. He asked for support, and I want to say, Rahul, that you know, this macho manner that we are talked about, that this
one second. I'm sorry, I've really run out of time.
Today
I only have two things to say.
Yes,
the Vinod Rai that people are today sort of wanting to take pot shots at. Now, he's not here, of course, to defend himself, and that's unfortunate. One second.
Destroyed the economic growth of this country. And if somebody should be prosecuted, it should be a gentleman like him. He
I've run out of time. Please allow me.
And I'm saying this with responsibility.
I'm also speaking now from response. The Supreme Court cancelled hundreds of licenses of both 2G and coal allegations. While the main 2G accused have been acquitted, there have been several convictions in the coal scam. The Supreme Court held the allocation process to be fraudulent, viewers. People didn't go to jail, but the process was fraudulent. So did the Supreme Court destroy economic growth too? That's the fundamental question. Viewers, I'm going to wrap up, but I just want to quote analysis of a global media coverage of events in India, written by journalist and media analyst Amol Parth. In 500 headlines across the NYT, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Time Magazine, Guardian, BBC, what does it show? 500 headlines, it was found the most used words were these 10. Fear, hate, violence, riot, Hindu, Muslim, Kashmir, cow, mob, protest. Viewers, think about it. That's all they had to say about this country. Nothing else. I leave it at that.